AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from the Raising Cane studio.
Let's rock!
Hour 2, off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. I'm Matt.
You're a loser, Matt!
Shut up, kid. Paul O'Neill.
They're chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
And Mr. Toby Tomplay. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. Let up to Charlotte in about 13 minutes. Julian Council locked on Panthers. We'll get a look at the Saints' opponent this weekend. The wild story, if you're just joining us, you heard there in Sports Center at the top of the hour. Sherrone Moore has been fired for cause at Michigan for an inappropriate relationship with a student. Well, what I should say, if I read the statement from the University of Michigan directly, Michigan football coach Sherrone Moore has been terminated with cause effective immediately following a university investigation. Credible evidence was found that Coach Moore engaged in an inappropriate relationship with a staff member. This conduct constitutes clear violation of university policy, and UM maintains zero tolerance for such behavior. Biff Poggi has been appointed head football coach in an interim capacity effective immediately. Yeah, I don't have a ton more to add. I mentioned it as we were going to the top of the hour there, but I get a lot of calls, often that they're rumors and they're wild, and you never really know what to believe, and you end up following a lot of different weird leads, and most of them dry up and there's nothing to them. But I did get a call on Saturday. I can tell you exactly where I was. I went to Chris's Specialty Foods to pick up a steak to throw on the grill, and I was driving home. And I got a call from someone who told me that. Actually gave me more detail into that I'm not going to share, because at this point that's rumor mongering that I can't confirm. But this part of it clearly is now, Michigan has acknowledged that it was an inappropriate relationship, but apparently there is more. Notably, the result of the relationship, and also the family of the student. Anyway. So I think there's more there that we're going to find out. But the other thing, maybe of greater consequence, that this person shared with me was that the target to replace Moore, this was Saturday, was going to be Kalen DeBoer. So, I rolled my eyes. It's okay. Yeah, sure. But the more improbable part of that story has already happened now, with Sherrone Moore being fired for cause, and Michigan's looking for a head coach. So there are clearly two things here that are pieces that, for us anyway, here in our little corner of the world in Louisiana and SEC country, the two things, number one, would be that. The Michigan job is open. We can have all the conversation we want about Sherrone Moore and all this stuff, whatever. To whatever degree you care. But of greater consequence is the Michigan job is open. And there are going to be a lot of coaches interested in taking the Michigan job. So could that be Kalen DeBoer? Maybe. That's what this person told me on Saturday, was that he was going to be their top target. To reiterate, I want to be very clear, because I know how things get clipped and heard and said. I want to be very clear. I have no idea whatsoever if DeBoer would be interested in Michigan, who else would be on the list. I'm just telling you that the person who Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, 4 days ago told me Sherrone Moore was going to be fired for cause that I kind of rolled my eyes and laughed at, also told me DeBoer was going to be their top target. So I'm paying attention. Let's just say I'm paying attention now. The other part of it that I think is super relevant here is Bryce Underwood. Now, Bryce Underwood started the entire season at Michigan this year as a freshman, and he did not have a great year. I mean, that is a fair assessment. Michigan was an underwhelming team, and Underwood was part of that. Bryce Underwood threw for 2,200 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. He ran for 5 touchdowns, by the way. But look, it's unenviable. It's a true freshman stepping right in and being the starting quarterback in Michigan. That's not easy. But he's the same guy with the tremendous skill set and upside. So with Sherrone Moore no longer at Michigan, I don't know what the Oracle dollars still look like, but it's worth paying attention to see who the next coach is going to be at Michigan. Now, the coaching staff that had a relationship with Bryce Underwood is no longer in Baton Rouge. That was primarily Joe Sloan's relationship. I feel like Joe Sloan spent more time in Michigan, probably than the Michigan coaching staff did, seeing Bryce Underwood. But Bryce came to Baton Rouge, was it 9 times on his own? So a coaching change, tumult, something like this could certainly cause a disruption there. I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility to consider that. And LSU is in desperate need of a quarterback. Quarterbacks, plural. And maybe it's Sam Leavitt. Maybe it ends up being one of the guys from Ole Miss, Chambliss, Austin Simmons, follows Lane Kiffin here. I don't know. But if you don't at least go kick the tires on Bryce Underwood and say, hey, you were committed here for a year, man. You got your year of experience up there. Your coach is gone. You want to come back down? Portal opens in 3 weeks. It's worth making that phone call. I mean, I'm sure they still got his agent's number on speed dial. You still got people in the building to have it. So, boy, that's jarring, man. Like, I just get like I'm pausing, and forgive me. I'm not trying to like just have dead air here. I'm sorry, but we just went through a thing with Lane Kiffin and the LSU coaching search and all that stuff for 6 weeks, where every day of my life for 6 weeks I got ridiculous calls and texts and all the rumors, all the stupidity that people, Lane Kiffin bought a house, Knox is already enrolled here or there, like all the stupidity that some of you read on the internet and believe, which is just stupidity. And you end up chasing your tail and trying to vet a lot of things that just because you don't want to leave any stone unturned. I would have never believed that when I got that call on Saturday. But my goodness. Sherrone Moore fired for cause for the exact reason I was told, and that person told me DeBoer would be their top target. So Michigan's open. What Notre Dame could come open if Marcus Freeman decides that he wants to taste the NFL with the Giants. And gigantic if, again, I don't have any insight into what DeBoer would do. I have no insight at all. I'm being very honest. I'm spitballing here. But if DeBoer were to leave, then Alabama comes open. And what happens there? I mean, we could be on the verge of the second spinning of this coaching carousel cycle with some of the biggest brands in the world. Michigan already open. See what direction they go. My goodness. Okay, it's after further review. I do want to talk about a few other things related to Lane Kiffin's staff. He did have a special teams coaching target at Football Ops today. We reported that over at LouisianaSports.net. Wilson Alexander is reporting new contract numbers for Charlie Weiss Jr., and my goodness, are they just stroking checks left and right now? And the latest on LSU search for a defensive tackles coach, with Elijah Robinson now clearly being targeted by Nebraska and Penn State. So I'll get to all of that here in about 20 minutes. Let me knock out a quick break. We're brought to you by Our Lady of the Lake, championship health partner of LSU Athletics, OLOLRMC.com/LSU, OLOLRMC.com/LSU. Of course, our friends over at Our Lady of the Lake welcome Coach Kiffin and his family to Baton Rouge, and as they ramp up to get the Tigers ready to get back to their championship status, the championship health partners at Our Lady of the Lake do that every single day for champions on the field, on the court, in the classroom, and in life every single day, like you and me. I tell you all the time, my personal physician is Dr. Curtis Chastain, part of the Our Lady of the Lake Men's Health Group. Drew sees specialists over at Our Lady of the Lake Children's Hospital. We trust the lake, and you should as well. It's Our Lady of the Lake and LSU. Together, we roar. Okay, y'all, it is after further review. Thanks for hanging out with us here. 1 hour from right now, Tim Brando will be on the show. Got to get Tim's thoughts on the Sherrone Moore situation, what direction that's not why we had Tim booked, but my goodness, is it relevant now? We'll knock out a quick break, come back, we'll head up to Charlotte. Julian Council will join us, Locked on Panthers. Stick around, it's AFR.
AFR.
Hump Day shows are brought to you by Goodwood, men's sexual wellness, yourgoodwood.com, yourgoodwood.com. I tell you all the time about hormone replacement therapy. Men, it's worth the blood test. Do a simple blood test, let you know if you're a candidate for HRT. You want to feel like your younger self, hormone replacement therapy can help you do it. I'm talking about as you age, you find it harder to build muscle. You find it harder to burn fat. You find it harder to sleep through the night. Do you find yourself getting lethargic throughout the day? You don't have great waking energy? What about a low libido? All of that is part of the aging process that literally happens to every human. Well, hormone replacement therapy can safely, affordably supplement you to get you to healthy levels so you can feel and have your body act like it did when you were younger and healthy and vibrant. Who wouldn't want to feel that way? Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness can help you do it. yourgoodwood.com, yourgoodwood.com. They're on Drusilla in Baton Rouge and online at yourgoodwood.com.
After further review, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com. Who dat say they're gonna beat them Saints? Let's head behind enemy lines to preview this week's matchup.
Julian Council, Locked on Panthers, good enough to join us. Yo, man, how are you?
Good, Matt. Good, man. Just sitting here seeing Sherrone Moore just got fired. So, like, my God, this college football thing never takes a break.
Man, I was sharing with our audience, Julian, that I got a call on Saturday. I mean, you know how this works. Like, your rumors and reports and just stuff. But I got a call on Saturday from someone I trust, but still almost impossible to believe, who told me Moore was going to get fired for cause for having an inappropriate relationship. Actually gave me some more details that I'm not going to share because that's rumor at this point. But and that Kalen DeBoer was going to be the top target. So I mean, I just kind of rolled my eyes and head patted the person. But damn, the more unbelievable part of the story is already true. I mean, so Michigan's open, and if they're able to get DeBoer away from Tuscaloosa, maybe after the playoff or whatever, Michigan, Bama might be open. What if Marcus Freeman does take the Giants job? Then Notre Dame would be open. My God, like this. That would be maybe the three biggest brands in the sport open all at once. That'd be crazy.
Yeah, that's insane. And too, like, isn't DeBoer, like, aren't they kind of not happy in Tuscaloosa? Because they just had a bunch of people leave there to go to Oregon State. I get they're West Coast guys, but you're leaving Tuscaloosa, go to Oregon State after 2 years?
I don't know. I don't have a great sense. I mean, I don't know Kalen DeBoer at all. I don't know, But it does make sense, right? If you're primarily a West Coast person, it's just different down here, man. But whatever. We've seen it before. I mean, Dennis Franchione was at Alabama. He left to go to Texas A&M. Bama people didn't take kindly to that, but sometimes there's just a cultural fit that needs to make sense for a coach to be happy or whatever. I don't know. We'll see. We'll follow it. But I mean, that's definitely an incredible layer to the coaching carousel that we weren't expecting after it seemed as though the Kiffin domino fell, everything else fell in place, and it felt like it was done. It ain't done, man.
No, it's never done. And can I just say this real quick before we talk about Panthers and Saints and all of that?
This is way more
Bryce
interesting.
Underwood, is this possible? Like, I understand last year it was tough, but, like, could he now maybe be an LSU Tiger with all the that's going on? I know Larry Ellison's got the money and all that, but come on.
We just talked about it in the last segment before you came on. Okay. How do you rule it out? I mean, how do you rule it out? By the way, he had 9 touchdowns and 6 picks. Tough as a freshman, I get it, but but he had the Michigan coaching. He had Chip Lindsey who was calling plays for him. Being a North Carolina guy, I saw what Drake May looked like with Chip Lindsey. Right.
So I'm just saying, Lane Kiffin's a little different thing, man.
No doubt. All right, Julian Council's with us, Locked On Panthers. All right, let's talk about this game and these teams, man. Look, the last time they played was incredible. Carolina was coming off a win at Lambeau, and the Saints went and plucked them. You picked them off there in Charlotte. Now Carolina's tied for the division lead. They got to come down to New Orleans. Give me the finger on the pulse right now going into this game for the Panthers, who were freaking tied for the division lead.
Yeah, it's wild, man. It's actually funny because when I came on a month ago, you asked me what did Carolina need to do to win this game.
We played the soundbite.
Show up.
Yeah.
I said just show up, and honestly, they must have been listening to the interview because those dudes did not take the Saints seriously the first time around. Like, Ike Ekwonu literally told us in the locker room, the attention to detail wasn't there throughout the week. So you're telling me that the Carolina Panthers, had the audacity to not be prepared to take a team lightly? Like, who do y'all think you are? And now fast forward to today, they're coming off yet another big win.
Yeah.
Pre-bye week against the Rams. And, they're tied for this thing. And looking at just how Tampa is trending, which is like not good. Maybe I know Vegas is not doing it, and it would be kind of foolish for me and you and really anybody to do as far as looking at Carolina being favored to win the division at this point in time, because I'm just not quite sure there. But there's it's interesting. Like, the guys in the locker room, they're having that maturity about the situation. They're not trying to get too big headed. They understand that they're in full control of their playoff fate, but they know there's an opportunity here. They can see blood in the water as Tampa's come back to them.
Is Bryce Young good?
That's the question we ask ourselves every week, man. Like, 1 week, it's, wow, Bryce might be the guy. The next week, it's like, oh, my God, this guy's awful. And we are right now at the stage of Bryce might be the guy.
Right.
Is it going to circle back to, oh, buddy, this guy is terrible? Because you look at the game against Green Bay, like, he didn't really do anything, but he did make enough plays on that final drive to set him up in field goal range to get the win against the Packers. Then the Saints said, hey, can you beat us? And Bryce said, absolutely not. And all week after that, people were asking about whether Bryce was the right guy, how they were out on him, and all he does is throw for 448 yards, something that Cam Newton never did, something that Jake Delhomme, Louisiana guy, never did as well. And then we're right back to, okay, maybe Bryce is it. So, I don't know. Like, I look at the quarterback market this offseason, whether it's guys come out of college, which I'm not really excited about any of those guys. And Carolina's probably not going to be in position to get anyone if there's anyone who's worth getting, honestly, in this draft. And then just the veteran market, you're going to trade for Mac Jones and think that's going to work out better for you. So he's probably back next year anyways. It's just as far as what they want to do with the fifth-year option, which they don't have to decide that until May. So right now, it's really not a point that needs to be made, but I would think that may be the best thing for them to do. So is he good? Some weeks, yes. Some weeks, definitely not. Most weeks, he's just okay.
Yeah. Julian Council's with us, Locked On Panthers. Does having the late bye mean anything, or what does this mean for Carolina at this point, coming off the late bye?
It's good for those guys to finally get not just a break, like physically, I just think mentally too, because you got to be locked in for that's been 20 straight weeks that these guys have been going at it since you look back at the end of July when they reported to camp. was actually in the locker room today talking to Tedero McMillan about it. And he said it was actually perfect for him because looking at a college season, like the college season just ended, the regular season 2 weeks ago, and the Panthers kind of have their bye week right around the same time with conference championship weekend. So he felt like it was pretty normal. So for him to be able to get now a break, it's a little different, I would think, though, as far as college and the NFL, like a lot different. So he felt like it was actually a good time for him. And they haven't really been that banged up. J.C. Horn, he's in concussion protocol. Tomorrow's a big practice when they have the pads on for him to show that he's ready to go. By all accounts, sounds like that will be the case. And other than that, Rob Hunt is another guy they're looking to get back at some point in time. He won't be available this week as he's still on IR, but they talk about opening up his window. So just getting some guys a 1 week break, knowing back in May they saw that schedule, like, damn, it's going to be a grind just to get there to week 14 to get that break. So I just think it's just a nice reset mentally and physically, as this team also knows what's right there in front of them, and they can focus in game to game and making sure they close out the job here in the NFC South.
How different is Carolina than the team that the Saints saw in Charlotte on November the 9th?
Same team, man. That's the thing. They're the exact same team that they saw. Now, one of the focuses certainly will be on Sunday is finding a way to run the ball. And Dave Canales talked about that today where they really struggled was blocking at the second level. That was getting a hat on DeMario Davis, was getting a hat on Pete Warner. They didn't do that the first time around. They're going to absolutely focus on making sure that gets done. But this is a team, as we've seen this season, they could beat just about anybody. I think the Rams are the best team in the NFL. I thought going into that game, clear and away, this is the best team in the league. They're going to win a Super Bowl. And they go out there, and Matthew Stafford, who had thrown 28 straight touchdowns without an interception, throws a pick six on the next drive, throws an interception later on, gets strip sacked by Derek Brown and close that thing out. I was just stunned that this team could rise up and beat somebody like the Rams after some of the awful offensive performances we have seen so far this season. Now, I give New Orleans a lot of credit. While this is obviously not a good football team, there's enough veteran leadership, especially defensively, where these guys have continued to play at whatever standards possible for their level of the roster is at this point in time. So this is a Carolina team that has already shown that they can lose to New Orleans, even when they were a one-win team back a month ago. So the Panthers are good enough to beat anybody. They're also just average enough to play down to their competition, if we can even say the Carolina Panthers are playing down anybody at this stage of this rebuild. But still, yeah, they're pretty much the same team that you saw a couple weeks ago. It's just which team is going to show up.
There's 2 games left against Tampa. So Carolina controls its destiny with what they want to do, but the same is true for Tampa. So there's a game against Seattle sandwiched between the 2 games against Tampa. So how big, as you sort of play out the final month, right, this scenario, how big is this game Sunday against the Saints for Carolina?
Depending on what happens tomorrow night, this game could be absolutely massive. And it still is either way. But, like, if somehow the Falcons get it done, Carolina, all you got to do is win their next 2 games, and they've won the division with 2 weeks left, which is just an insane proposition. Now, it's the same case for Tampa. If Tampa takes care of business and Carolina goes and loses to New Orleans, which certainly is possible, like, I'm not going to count that out, and Tampa wins next week, they take care of business. Now, when I look at things, as far as just the tiebreakers in the NFC South, Carolina cannot win the common opponent tiebreaker. So if there's a way where they end up splitting with Tampa and both teams end up 10-7, meaning Tampa takes care of Atlanta, of course, you get that win against Carolina. They beat Miami. Carolina wins this Sunday against New Orleans. They get a win against Tampa, beat Seattle. If they're both 10-7, 4-2 in a division, Tampa will have the common opponent tiebreaker, and that will be solely based off of really the game against Arizona in Week 2 that Carolina lost. Because the Cardinals are a 3-10 football team. That's a team you should have beat. Tampa Bay beat them by 3 a couple weeks ago. But that will be the game that really haunts them in the end. There's a possibility, if it's the Lions or the Bears, that they fall apart, that they could maybe get that 7 seed and win a tiebreaker there, the wild card. But that's pretty far-fetched, I think, at this point in time. So, yeah, this game's important. But really, the 2 games against Tampa are the ones you got to have.
Yeah.
They can lose New Orleans, but as long as they beat Tampa twice, like, they're going to be totally fine. They can lose to Seattle. As long as they beat Tampa twice, they'll be totally fine to win the division. So, yeah, it's important. You don't want to come off of a bye, come off of another big win, and fall flat like you have multiple times so far this season. So, yeah, it's important, but there's other games out there that could actually be more meaningful just looking at all scenarios over the next month.
Get him on Twitter at Julian Council, Locked on Panthers. Great week to go check out the pod if you haven't done it yet, as the Saints getting ready to take on the Panthers at the Dome Sunday, 3:25 Central. Okay, man, we always appreciate it, man. Thanks. Have a great one. Enjoy the game Sunday.
Yep, take care, Matt.
We appreciate it. That's Julian Council. It's After Further Review. We're brought to you by Parish Restoration. ParishRestoration.com. Tell you all the time, kill mold, remove odor, other harmful pathogens. ParishRestoration.com. ParishRestoration.com. Maybe you got flu or COVID going through the office. Got a great way to get rid of it. School building, doctor's office. Let Parish come dry fog. Parish Restoration. ParishRestoration.com. ParishRestoration.com. Just go to the homepage, fill out the form on the homepage, and they'll get you that quote. It's faster. It's more cost-effective. It's more efficient. It's Parish Restoration. And they'll drive their Sprinter van up to your home, office, your vehicle, whatever you need fogged. The hose runs, it's all through the Sprinter van. They pull right up. They pull the hose out. They go through the whole building, fog the whole thing, close up the windows, the doors, let the fog dwell. As soon as it dissipates, boom, back in free, clear, clean, sanitized, clean smelling. ParishRestoration.com. ParishRestoration.com. All right, it's After Further Review. We'll continue to get more reaction to the Sherrone Moore story. If you're just joining us, haven't heard, Michigan has fired Sherrone Moore for cause, an inappropriate relationship with a staffer. So we will continue to keep an eye on this and how this develops and evolves as one of the biggest jobs in college football is now open and who starts to garner interest. Let me knock out a break. We'll come back. I do want to talk some LSU coaching staff stuff, an update on Charlie Weiss Jr.'s contract, an update on LSU search for a defensive line coach, and an update on a special teams coach target that was in Baton Rouge today I'll tell you about. That's all next on AFR.
AFR.
REV, Let's Rev. Let'sRev.com, Let'sRev.com, REV, Let'sRev.com. I love telling you about Rev because Rev is an amazing local company that's been around for 90 years, 90, nearly a century. They've evolved with the time. Listen, you got to have internet. We all know that, and we all hate slow, lagging internet speeds. So be done with that forever. Our friends over at Rev can make it happen. Speeds up to 5 gigs. We're talking about an all-fiber network, and there's 100% local service and support, so you're never routed to an overseas call center. And it's everything. It's TV, phone, security, home automation, in addition to your internet. They service South Louisiana and have since 1935, 90 years and counting at Rev, R-E-V. Let'sRev.com, Let'sRev.com, R-E-V, Let'sRev.com.
After Further Review, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
Hat tip to Wilson Alexander at The Advocate. Earlier today on Twitter. Oh, do you have our Wilson drop? Yeah. Wilson! Let's do it over. Hat tip to Wilson Alexander over at The Advocate. Step on me, Muse. Try it again. Hat tip to Wilson Alexander over at The Advocate. Wilson! Earlier today, he had the report that Charlie Weiss Jr., the LSU offensive coordinator, has had his contract amended. The new contract at LSU, the contract that he agreed to that was going to pay him $6 million over 3 years, an average of $2 million per year. Yes, that contract that isn't 2 weeks old. That contract has been amended, and now it's a 3-year, $7.5 million contract. So, new term sheet, and apparently this was after there was interest from Ole Miss in keeping him. Now, we told you a day ago that in conversations I had with an LSU official that the MOU, the term sheet, Memorandum of Understanding, the term sheet that LSU offered all of these coaches and that they all signed did have binding language in them with non-compete clauses. So if you were wondering or worrying about the coaches going to coach Ole Miss and staying, contractually, they could not do that. They would have had to have been bought out of their contracts with LSU. But clearly, LSU was willing to do even more for Charlie Weis to entice him to stay at LSU or to come back to LSU after he leaves Ole Miss. And this is kind of the messy, sloppy part of the whole thing, right? This is sort of if you're Ole Miss, why you didn't want Lane Kiffin to coach your team, which I get, by the way. I agreed with them all the way along. Because if the LSU coach is coaching your team while he's working for LSU, is he recruiting your roster, getting net benefits to LSU, his new school, while you're trying to win a game or two? Like, it's a very real question. Well, you could look at it this way as well. Is Charlie Weis being at Ole Miss recruiting players to LSU? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know Charlie Weis. Seems like a good, ethical guy. Maybe not doing that, but it's natural to think. Maybe those conversations are had off to the side. Maybe he's not engaging. Maybe a player says, Coach, you got a spot for me? Maybe. But the flip side is also true. LSU does, in good faith, the right thing, saying, yeah, you can return and coach the team. Now, LSU did a smart thing by protecting themselves contractually with the language in their MOU. But you let them go back to Oxford. They're right back there in that emotional centerpiece, looking at all those players that they just left and thinking, man, how did I leave? I got to stay. And maybe Charlie Weis was having cold feet. Maybe he's calling Lane, hey, man, I think I made a mistake. I got to stay with these guys. And so what do? Boom, 7-5. Okay. How does an extra $500,000 a year sound, Charlie? By the way, we've also got you locked into a contract. I mean, look, it's fair to say you want someone who wants to be here and all that. I'm not suggesting Charlie Weis doesn't. I just think you have a very difficult situation where a lot of these guys are conflicted. It's not an easy thing. Leaving anywhere is difficult, especially leaving right in the middle of a college football playoff run. We can all understand. It's an unprecedented thing because a 12-team playoff, to have this happen, is unprecedented. It's only the second year ever of the college football playoff. So, yes, all of this is different and new. So Charlie Weis Jr. has agreed to an amended contract. He's got an extra $500,000 a year on his deal. Two other assistants I want to talk about. One, we reported this over at LouisianaSports.net earlier on Wednesday. Former Florida assistant Joe Houston was in Baton Rouge Wednesday at Football Ops to discuss a special teams position on Lane Kiffin's staff. So if you're not familiar, Joe Houston actually played collegiately at Southern Cal and then played in the Arena League. And he got into coaching, and he's kind of been in a lot of different places. He's been at Toledo, Iowa State. He was on staff at Alabama. He spent 4 years coaching special teams for the New England Patriots from 2020 to 2023. So he's on Belichick's staff there with the Patriots there in those last 4 years in New England. And then went to Florida, joining Billy Napier's staff, overseeing the Gators special teams this past year in 2025. So he was not retained when John Summerall took the job. And so he's in Baton Rouge today to interview for that position. As of right now, I do not have confirmation if a position was offered, if it was accepted. As of now, what I'm comfortable saying is this is a target that Lane Kiffin has for his special teams job that was in Baton Rouge on Wednesday. If that does get confirmed, if I'm able to confirm it, we'll share that with you, but it's a name to know. What that certainly means is that Amon Anand is not going to be retained. Of course, Amon Anand was here just for one season. He was brought in from Grambling. And LSU's special teams this year, while, man, they weren't great, obviously, there was a pretty dramatic improvement when you look at the overall special teams efficiency ratings. LSU went in the last 3 years, they were 123rd. So this is under Brian Kelly. This is LSU's special teams efficiency rating under Brian Kelly in 4 years. 123, 99, 130, and then this year 65th. So even though it wasn't good, it was still a dramatic improvement from the previous 3 years under Brian Kelly. But Amon Anand clearly is not going to be retained as they're looking at new potential additions. The other two staff members worth mentioning, Lance Guidry, who was a defensive analyst this year for LSU, reports out there that he has accepted the defensive coordinator job at Oregon State, so he won't be back on LSU staff. And the one other thing that we're keeping an eye on still is the defensive tackles coach. It certainly looked like LSU was going to hire Elijah Robinson. Football Scoop actually Saturday morning had reported that he had accepted the job. Football Scoop was the first to have report the interest on Thursday. We told you on Friday that Robinson was in the building. And then Saturday, Football Scoop reported that LSU had landed their guy and made their splash hire. Well, then Nebraska and Penn State both came calling. Nebraska is coached by Matt Rule. You probably know that. Robinson coached under Rule at both Temple and Baylor. So they're very good friends. They've stayed in touch, and that was a very natural tie there that Matt Rule would reach out to Robinson to try to get him to Lincoln. And then now with Matt Campbell going to Penn State, remember Elijah Robinson is a Penn State alum. He played at Penn State. So with Matt Campbell trying to hire his new staff, reaching out to try to bring Robinson back to Happy Valley, I just think he's got a decision to make. I mean, LSU is the best of the three jobs, the best of the three programs. Certainly we know LSU's paying, but there's the allure of going to your alma mater, and then there's the attractiveness of going to work for your friend who had you at two other jobs earlier in your career. So it sounds like LSU might actually be running third right now in that race, but LSU's got a lot to offer. See if Lane Kiffin can get on the horn, make a call, and see if they can lock down Elijah Robinson. If it's not Elijah Robinson, I know a lot of people have asked about Ed Ogeron. Everything that I've heard about Coach O has been from the agent side, pushing Coach O, like it was for Arkansas, Oregon State, Tulane. I haven't heard anything from anyone at LSU saying that's a realistic option. I want to be clear. I am not saying no way. I'm not telling you it's off the table. I'm just telling you that one person who have said a lot of conversations about this staff over the last 6 weeks, I have not had anyone at LSU tell me that Ogeron is an option. Maybe he will be, maybe he is, but I don't know if that's maybe the most realistic. The one that I would tell you that you should probably start to wrap your head around as a possibility to be LSU's defensive tackles coach if they don't land Elijah Robinson is Lane Kiffin's brother, Chris Kiffin. Chris was a defensive analyst the last 2 years at Ole Miss. He's 43 years old, played collegiately at Colorado State, but he's got more experience than I realized coaching defensive line. So Chris Kiffin coached defensive line at Arkansas State in 2011. Then he was the defensive line coach at Ole Miss for 5 seasons from 2012 to 2016. He was the defensive coordinator and linebackers coach for Lane's first year at FAU in 2017. Then he went into the NFL. 2 years with the Niners, 2 years with the Browns, those 4 years coaching defensive line in the NFL. And then went and coached linebackers with the Texans, and then the last 2 years as a defensive analyst with Ole Miss. So all in all, Chris Kiffin has 11 years experience at the major college and NFL level coaching defensive line. And that may very well be where Lane lands here if he's not able to get Elijah Robinson. He may promote his brother to one of the full-time on-field roles. So worth knocking around in your head to see if that's a possibility where Lane may land for defensive tackle coach if they can't get Elijah Robinson back re-engaged if he takes either Penn State or Nebraska. All right, it's After Further Review. We're brought to you by Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry, lmfj.com, lmfj.com for Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry. Love telling you about our friends over at Lee Michaels. They're awesome. And man, what a time of year to get there. If you're buying for him or for her, they got a gift at Lee Michaels. Beautiful diamond engagement rings, wedding bands. If you're getting married, you need your wedding band. Erica bought my wedding band at Lee Michaels. Earrings, necklaces, pendants, bracelets, watches, writing instruments, 10 different locations, Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Lafayette, Shreveport, and online at lmfj.com. Lee Michaels Fine Jewelry, lmfj.com. Experience the Lee Michaels experience, lmfj.com. Okay, y'all, rolling along here on a hump day edition of AFR presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. We'll knock out our final break of hour number 2. Muse will do Tigers and the Pros. We do have Tim Brando in 30 minutes. I mean, sometimes you get lucky. Timmy B was supposed to be on with us here today to talk about the playoff and all that sort of stuff. But with the Sherrone Moore news, I think that just races to the forefront. If you're just knocking off of work and haven't heard, Michigan has fired Sherrone Moore for cause after having had an inappropriate relationship with a staffer. So now the Michigan job is open. So we'll talk about that with Timmy B coming up in about 30 minutes. All right, stick around. It's AFR.
AFR.
We're brought to you by Clegg's Nursery. Yes, you can go get your Christmas tree at Clegg's. They still got a great selection. Yes, you can go get your poinsettias at Clegg's. They got a great selection with new shipments arriving almost daily, and they are grown here locally in their greenhouses. And yes, you can go to Clegg's to get your Christmas decor. But remember, you can also go to Clegg's to shop for that hard-to-buy-for person on your list. First of all, if you got a green thumb on your list, a Clegg's gift card is a great idea. Buy the Clegg's gift card. Let them pick out what they want. Maybe you buy them a citrus tree. What an amazing gift that will give year after year after year that they'll get generations of enjoyment out of. They got so many options at Clegg's Nursery. Tuned wind chimes are a beautiful accent piece for anybody's outdoor space. They got them at Clegg's Nursery. So buy local, shop local. Tell them Matt sent you to Clegg's Nursery.
After further review, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
All right, we're wrapping up hour number 2. Hump Day shows are brought to you by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. We're glad to have you hanging out with us here. I was in about 10 minutes set to get to this Field Yates mock draft. I just may not go too deep dive into it because the Sherrone Moore stuff is just dominating so many of the headlines. I feel like we have to talk a little bit more about that and what that may mean, the trickle-down effect to the SEC, to LSU, throughout college football. But we'll continue rolling along. Right now, Muso as Tigers in the Pros.
Tigers in the Pros. They still bleed purple and gold. They're just really rich now.
All right, we got some injury updates for you from the NFL, obviously, as the week turns to Wednesday. We'll start with Jaden Daniels. Remember, Daniels missed 4 games with an elbow injury, dislocated it, returned a week ago in the third quarter, fell directly on the left elbow, re-aggravated it. Nothing structural or long-term, no setback there, but Dan Quinn on Wednesday did confirm that Jaden Daniels will not play on Sunday against the New York Giants. That will be Marcus Mariota. Daniels was limited in practice. Lloyd Cushenberry, he's still dealing with a foot, was limited in Wednesday's practice. Take that for what it's worth. He was limited at points a week ago. Didn't play, though, against the Browns. That was his second consecutive missed game due to this foot injury, and again limited on Wednesday. And then Mason Taylor. He's dealing with a neck. Yeah, he's got a neck. This is a new injury for Taylor. Did not practice on Wednesday for the New York Jets. Keep you posted there. And then how about this for Jalen Mills? He's been claimed off of waivers by the Detroit Lions. So by a contender, was let go by Houston today and was claimed today. 31 years old, appeared in 4 games for the Texans this season with 1 start. Totaled 4 tackles in 48 defensive snaps. See if you can find his way onto the field with the contender in the Detroit Lions. That's Tigers in the Pros.
Presented by Evamore, EVAMOR, Evamore.com, Evamore.com. Hey, remember to stay hydrated. You know, it's a good reminder. I would love it if you drink Evamore, obviously. It's delicious. It's what I drink. I buy the 4 packs of the 64-ounce bottles. You can buy the 20-ounce bottles, the 32-ounce bottles. It's just so important to remember to stay hydrated, especially when it's cold outside, because if it's cold outside, you're not parched, you forget to drink water, you forget to stay hydrated, but it's so important to be healthy, especially during cold and flu season, that we stay hydrated. So just make it a point. When you swing by the grocery store, the gas station, whatever it is, grab your bottle of Evermore, keep it with you, drink it throughout the day, and make sure you stay hydrated and drink delicious Evermore, a healthier alternative, natural artesian water, EVAMOR, evermore.com. Buy it online. If you're not sure where a store is, where you can get it, they got the store locator at the website. Just type in your zip code, and boom, it'll pop up right there. The store is nearest you at evermore.com, EVAMOR, evermore.com. All right, y'all, it is After Further Review. We are glad you're hanging out with us here on a Hump Day edition of AFR, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness. Tim Brando in 20 minutes. We'll come back after the top of the hour. Field Yates over at ESPN has put out a new mock draft, and it's just one man's opinion and all, but I kind of feel like Field Yates just did that mock draft simulator thing where it's like, hey, just spit out a mock draft for me and tell me what I should put out, because what he has the Saints doing with the 5th overall pick might cause a riot in New Orleans. I'll tell you what that is coming up right after SportsCenter. It's After Further Review. Hour number 3, presented by Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness, staring you right in the face. Don't move.
AFR.
When the temperatures drop into the 30s, you know you're cranking on your heater. And you know typically when you crank on your heater during the winter months, those electric bills are going up. It's because your house has to work overtime to stay climate controlled. Well, one way to keep those energy bills down is installing energy-efficient replacement windows from Relief Windows. Always encourage you to give them a shout. Listen, there's a lot of ways you can do this, okay? The website's awesome, reliefwindows.com, reliefwindows.com, reliefwindows.com. You can call 288-8138, 288-8138, or you can set up a consultation and go meet with one of their associates at their showroom. The showroom is gorgeous, state-of-the-art. It's right there on Airline Highway in Prairieville. So if you're going south on Airline, right, you go south past Highway 42, about a quarter mile on the right. You can't miss it, the big Relief Windows showroom. And sit down with them and let them go over your options. It's reliefwindows.com.